Hi, I'm Scott, your SKS video guy, and today we're talking FPV. That's right, we're going to the dark side. Well, hello and welcome to my channel, and welcome to my new set. I just built this set, figured it's a little better than what I was using my crowded workbench to do those videos, so we built a nice set. Hope you like it. Anyways, what you're tuned in today is we're talking about FPV, most notably my journey at getting into FPV, my first experiences and stuff. Now, I've been flying camera drones, FPV, regular camera drones for about 8 years. I have my Part 107 and all that, and I was looking for something different and new to do. So I thought, okay, what else could we try? Well, looking at some various friends and stuff that are what they're doing, most notably Ken Herring and a few others, they looked like they were having pretty much fun with FPV, so I thought I'd try it. So the first thing I said, well, I don't know anything about it, so I prefer to have something what I call, and Ken calls, a drone in a box. Everything you need in there, built, tuned, ready to go. So I looked around and I found this drone here. This is a eSheen Novice 4. It's being sold by Banggood up in Canada. And it had good reviews from a lot of noted reviewers like Captain Drone, those guys there. This came out about a year or so ago, so it's been around for a while. It had good goggles, had a nice Radiomaster TX12 radio to it, came with the batteries, everything, carbon fiber frame, a lot of cool stuff in it. So I ordered it from them. Took about 3 weeks to get it, and they didn't tell you about the duty taxes you have to pay on it. That was one thing I wasn't happy about. So I got the thing, I put it on the bench, turned everything on, and I noticed there was a problem with it. It wasn't doing something correctly. So I contacted Banggood and I said, hey, you got a problem here. So this is something I generally don't do in my videos, is a rant. But in this case, it is warranted. This company here, I had a heck of a time. They just made a mess of the things. They said, okay, well, you have to go to our website and go to this one special section here and fill out this form, right? And you have to prove to us that there's something wrong with this drone. It's like, what? Well, we want you to take pictures, and we want you to give you a very detailed description of what's actually wrong with this thing. And then each time you send them one of those forms in, and you have to wait for them to get back, it takes 3-4 days. Each time you do some sort of question and answer thing, it's 3-4 days between it. So it's taking a long time. So they asked questions, and I answered them back, and then they said, well, could you make a video showing what's wrong with it? Like, okay, so I made a video, sent that to them. More bantering back and forth. And I was getting very aggravated with this thing. Meanwhile, I'm not flying. So eventually, they said, okay, fine, send it back. Okay, give me an address. Where do you want me to send this to? Yeah, China. Really? China? Do you know how much it costs to send a 6-pound box to China? I'll tell you, $100. But of course, they're not offering to compensate you for that. No. So off I ship it, and I wait, and I kind of figured this would happen. They'd get stuck in customs, and then customs says, well, you have to have them come down here and clear this. Fine, I sent the information to them, said, hey, you've got to go down here to customs and clear this thing. Wait some more. Finally, eventually, they say, okay, we'll give you your money back. This took 3 months. So I wasn't happy with them. I would say do not buy anything from Banggood because they are no good. So that being said, just avoid them like a plague. Anyways, while I was battling with Banggood, I said, well, I still want to fly. So I reached out to some friends of mine, most notably Ken Herring. Ken, I said, what can you suggest? So he sent me a link to this drone right here. This is the Skyliner Mark III, or as Ken likes to refer to it as the Face Shredder 5000, and it's from Rotor Riot. So I contacted Rotor Riot and said, hey, I don't know anything, I don't have anything, what do you suggest? So in a course of talking to them, they came up with this here. This is built, tuned, ready to go. So we got the Face Shredder. So they asked me, well, do you want to go digital or analog? I said, well, I want to go digital. So we decided we'll go with this. This is the V2 goggles from DJI. To wit, I added some really cool decals from Decal Girl and some eyeballs from Ken Herring. We added the fat strap, and we have a printed battery holder from Original Dobo. So we're going digital. So it does a really good job of nice quality picture and all that. So then they said, well, what controller do you want? I said, okay, let's go with this one here. This here is the Radiomaster TX16S. Now this one here is the 4-in-1. It is not the Express LRS. At the time, I wanted to keep my options open in case I wanted to fly something analog or something instead of digital, so that's why I got the 4-in-1, which binds up to a FrSky receiver inside the drone. So I get this. I said, well, I needed everything, so we started adding things. So we added some batteries. We added some tools here. Let's get some tools going. And prop nut drivers. Of course, you can never have too many props, so I got a whole bunch of props. Battery checker. I also ordered a kit bag for all the tools that I can go out. It holds all the tools that I'm going to need. I got a little soldering gun for in the field out there. I got a little kit with extra bolts and stuff, the M2, 3, 4 bolts that I would use. I also sourced out a battery charger for the LiPos. Now, I didn't get this from Rotorite. I got this from the local hobby store. I sourced it from them. I believe in supporting the local hobby store as best I can. This is a Prodigy 610, and it does AC and DC charging. It charges 4 at a time because I'm impatient, and it looks like to be a really good charger. I also got from Rotorite a LiPo bag, which is pretty cool to keep the LiPos in, keep them safe. Even comes with a nice battery checker in there as well, so that's pretty nice. So I just got everything I could possibly think we could need to do this. So I got everything in. Took them about 3 weeks again to get it because they had to actually build it and tune it for me. And again, I don't know how to build these things. I wanted to get flying right away. So I also decided, well, I want to record video more than what is just in the goggles. And I didn't want to trust flying a GoPro on this thing. I didn't want to send a $500 GoPro up there and take a chance on wrecking it. So I got this. This here is a RunCam Thumb Pro. It is a 4K, small little camera. It is, I got a little housing from AliExpress to hold it into, and a little GoPro mount from Rotorite to mount it to the Skyliner and other drones. So this is a cool little camera. I thought that would be fun to have. So we're going to add that to it later when I feel as if I'm flying a little bit better. So the first thing they suggested to do, Ken and several other people suggested I do, is to get a simulator. So while I was ordering all this stuff from Rotorite, I ordered their liftoff simulator. So I went in, I got the unit, I put it on the bench, turned everything on, checked it, yep, everything turns on, the batteries, goggles, everything works. Great. Shut everything down, took the radio, went over, hooked it up to my computer, and set it up to fly the simulator liftoff. So I spent about 2 weeks flying that, about 8 hours or so, mostly flying around Joshua Bardware's house because that's similar to the type of flying I'm going to be doing. And I got to the point where I thought, okay, I think I got this. So we went in, I charged everything up, we went outside, and here's my first attempt at trying to take off. All right, we're going to arm it. Blades should be moving. No, they're not. That's right. Nothing happened. So I'm figuring out what the heck's going on here. Scratching my head. I went inside. Now, I don't know a whole lot about Betaflight or anything like that there. So I'm still trying to figure out what's wrong with this. So we monkey with it some more. I go about, and this is our second try. All right, we're going to arm it. Strike 2, still nothing's going on. So now I'm really confused. Meanwhile, I'm reaching out to Rotorite saying, hey dudes, what's going on here? Well, what I didn't know, and nobody told me ahead of time, so I'm relaying this valuable piece of information to you. If you're going to hook your transmitter up to anything like a simulator, like liftoff or something like that there, create inside the radio a second model and then use that to fly the simulator. Don't use the original tune that came with it, because somehow in the process it ruined or messed up the tune that came with it. So it became unbound, is what we figured out. So I started reaching out to various support groups in the area because I didn't know anybody around me here that flew drones, or FPV specifically. So I went up one to like beginners to FPVs and those kind of things. And I reached out and said, hey guys, anybody out there know anything that lives near me that could help me with this? And I called my friend Ken, and he put me in touch with a very nice gentleman in Texas named Jerry. He's a high school teacher that teaches courses on drones. He doesn't know anything about the TX16S because they don't use that particular radar and they don't fly digital. But through talking with him and trying to brainstorm what may be going on, we established that probably this thing is not bound. So then, while I was talking to Jerry, I got a message from a nice gentleman named Alan who lived near me. So he said, well, yeah, I fly that radio. He doesn't fly digital, but he does fly that radio. And he has a similar type drone, not the same one, but he does. So I arranged with him to meet with him at a local park. He brought his laptop. We hooked everything up. And we're sitting there scratching our head. Again, we determined that, all right, this thing's not bound. And we're trying to sit there and get this thing, the radio, to bound to the FrSky receiver. So we eventually found a decent video on how to do that. And once we figured that out and we got it bound up, and then we activated the S-bus so that it would actually talk to Betaflight. And once we got it into Betaflight, I hooked it up and I went in and I put a basic tune into the thing. It's like, okay, yeah, it seems like it's going. And I tested it on the bench, turn it on, yes, it activates. So this is my third attempt. That's right, it TAS'd itself. It jumped straight up, spun around, and came right back down. So now I'm really confused. So I contacted Rotor Riot again. Now, again, Rotor Riot's not the fastest at this. It's usually 2-3 days or more between when they get back to you and all that. And they're not, send us information. Could you take a picture of this? What's it doing here? So it was a little lacking in that regard. So their customer service when it comes to this is not the greatest either. But at least it's better than Banggood. So what we eventually figured out, and he suggested, well, hey, why don't you go into Betaflight and remap your motors? Like, okay. So when I went into Betaflight, I looked at the way the motors were spinning. Now, Rotor Riot sends you this really nice propeller installation guide, and in it, it shows the propellers spinning inward on itself. They were spinning in. Well, Betaflight shows them spinning outward. It's like, okay. So I went in and I remapped the motors so that they were spinning outward, and then I also moved the props and switched them over so that they're in the right motors and spinning the right directions for lift. So, and then I put a rudimentary tune into it. I thought that would be safe enough that I could fly this. So this is my next try. Success! I managed to get it into the air, and the whole goal of the first flight was just to limp it around the front yard a bit and get it back and landed in one piece.
All right, I see landing pad. Let's see if I can get close to it. All right, down. Ho-ho! Check it out. It worked. I flew. It only took 4 tries, but I got it to fly. Cool beans!
Mission accomplished. I managed to get that done, and I contacted my friend Alan and said, hey Alan, I managed to get this thing to fly. Let's get together again and see if we can tune it further. So we got together a few days later at another park, and he hooked it up to his laptop and he looked at it in Betaflight and says, well, I don't know how you flew this thing. It says there's a pretty rude tune in here because, yeah, it was sloppy and all that. So we went in and put in a little bit better tune up to it and decided to go again. So this is my second flight.
Okay, the throttle response is a whole lot better than it was.
I managed to get it into the air and we zipped it around pretty good. I thought, okay, this is pretty good. Now it was in angle mode, so I couldn't do any acro. So after about 4 minutes of flying around, getting used to the thing, I come in and landed it. One thing I did notice is that the actual real flight of the drone, the controls and stuff are slightly different from the simulator. I thought the simulator was a little on the touchy side. Now maybe you can go in and tone that down a bit, you can, but I didn't know that. So the drone itself flies a lot easier. It flies very much similar to a radio control helicopter and other aircraft that I've flown over the years. So I was pretty okay with that. Went up, took off for the third time. Flew it around and said, oh, I'd like to try to do a loop or roll or something like that there. Well, it was still in angle mode. And the switch that I had set up on the transmitter wasn't set up correctly to put it into acro mode. So we landed it after the third flight. We went over and we remapped the positioning of the switch so that it would actually go into acro. So here's my actual fourth flight. Now I was nervous because I haven't flown in full acro yet, so this is full on, there's nothing assistant or anything, and I was afraid that this thing would crash right away. Well, it did not. I flew around just fine, and after a short bit, I managed to do some rolls, and I managed to do a loop, and I even managed towards the end of the flight to do a circle around the basketball court a little bit, little flybys and things like that there. So I was, good, landed it, not a problem. So I'm progressing pretty good with this one here. I'm pretty happy with that. Now, while I was fooling around trying to get the Skyliner to actually fly, I reached out and I saw this come online. So the next thing that came in the mail was this. This is the DJI Avata. Now this is a super cool little drone. It comes with the next generation, they call these the Goggles 2. To it, I added the original Dobo battery mount for it. He also sells these rib rider bumpers, which are cool, and a jock strap mount here to keep the battery from flying out of it. I also added his bad idea GoPro mount if I ever want to mount something like maybe the run cam or an actual GoPro on top of it. However, the video in this thing is extremely good. I don't think I would need to do that. And then we also added a LiPo battery bag, and the drone comes with this motion controller. Now I ordered this from DroneWorks, and I contacted them and I said, hey, I want this. I see you sell it with the controller and everything. Yes, we do. So, okay, do you have them? Yeah, we have one left. I said, okay, yeah, you'll get it. We'll put it in the box with it and you'll get it. Okay, fine. Well, when I get it, there's no stick controller. The only thing is they got is this motion controller. We call it the nunchuck. Other people call it other things. But, so I contacted him and said, hey, there's no stick controller here. You said you was going to be a stick controller. Well, there's a bunch of them came in ahead of you and we ran out. They're on back order, we'll get it to you as soon as you can. Well, here it is ever since this thing has been released. At this point in time, it's been over 2 months, and I still haven't got my stick controller. So I'm calling DroneWorks out on that one right there. If you don't have something, say so. Don't say you do. That's a tactic that some companies do. They'll say they have it to sell you the main unit in hopes that the controller will come in a little later and they can send it to you right away. Well, I personally don't care for that kind of tactic, and I don't use it. So I'm calling you out on that one. If you don't have something, say so. Anyways, that being said, I decided, okay, let's fly it with this thing here, and this thing's actually quite fun. So I got it up, zipping it around, and a friend of mine, Royce, he's flown regular camera drones like I have, and he's never flown FPV before either. So I left him fly it, and here's what he thinks of it.
This is so cool. For those of us who can't fly, this is like being a freaking Superman.
He liked it a lot. It was flying around. Before we knew it, we were zipping this thing around the house. Of course, the cats hate the darn thing, but went around the back of the house. It has very good penetration, no loss of signal going around the back of the house, no problems whatsoever. A solid video signal, very good quality video on this screen here, very nice. So I'm very impressed with this drone here. Of course, it's DJI. I rarely have ever a problem out of DJI products. They just fly. And we're going, like I said, we're making trench runs. And after a while, I kicked it up into sport mode, and I started kind of chasing after a car down the road. I live in a side road, and so I chased after one of them to see if I could keep up with it, and it did pretty good. So zipping it around the neighborhood, I was really happy with it. So at least the first thing I got to actually fly FPV is this Cinewoop, which is the DJI Avata. Again, at the time I got this, I still hadn't gotten the Skyliner to actually fly. So eventually, we got everything working and I actually got to fly it. So what is the recap of this? Well, most of these companies need to work on their customer support. They range from not so good with the Avata to could be better on the Rotor Riot to downright bad with Banggood. Rotor Riot, they need to step up their game as well. Now, they have a good quality product. It was built well. It's got a lot of very good components in it. So I highly recommend, even though their service can be better, their products are very good. Same goes with the DJI. I've never had a problem with these. If you ever have a problem with them, they replace them immediately. They don't fool around with them. So we had fun doing that. So what am I going to do next? Well, I thought about, let's maybe build one. So again, I'm not going to go and source out the individual frame and the motors, the ESCs and the flight controls and all that stuff here. I would probably look for a kit that has everything in it. Now, I can solder pretty good, and I've got all the equipment up there. I've got the little hand holders, and I got a lighted magnifying glass and stuff that I can use to look at the stuff. You know, that's what I'll probably do over the winter time. If you want to see me do a video about that, leave some comments below, and I'll see if I can document what I'm doing on that. So, till then, if you liked what you saw today, certainly give me a thumbs up, subscribe, ring the bell if you want to see more videos from me coming out in the future. And hey, thanks for all the help from Ken, Jerry, and Alan. We made it. I'm working, so it's doing pretty good. So until next time, I'm Scott, your SKS video guy, and we'll see you around. Well, it might not be quite as good as the first attempt, but oh shit! I forgot to mention the god darn. Oh, I forgot the tools.
Okay, stand by, shut it off.